Whether we're talking entrepreneurial spirit or simply a zest for life, I have a question for all of you. How deeply does your intrinsic motivation lie? Because, you see, intrinsic or internal motivation flourishes when we all feel as if we have authority over the matter. When we're given ownership of the outcome, we're all invested in the final result. Because you see, at the end of the day, we all want to initiate, innovate, and contribute to our own personal and professional prosperity. And when it comes to health and fitness, that, my friends, is no different. According to my friends at the Institute for Health and Productivity Studies at Johns Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health, increasing employees' physical activity can help create a more healthier workforce, reduce sick time and training costs. Specifically, Johns Hopkins research has shown employees that get at least 75 minutes of vigorous exercise and physical activity per week miss 4.1 fewer workdays throughout the calendar year. This is good news and good data for my friend Justin Martinez. He's a former U.S. Army Ranger turned entrepreneur, author, and personal transformation expert. With a background in real estate, fitness, and financial mastery, he's built several successful ventures, including launching a fitness business, coaching program, scaling Airbuds, and he also has a successful athletic background as well. He's completed Ironmans, ultramarathons, and the 75 Hard program multiple times. He's got a book entitled The Compounder's Guide to Developing the Ranger's Mindset, which provides a blueprint for success through discipline and resilience. His mission is simple: by helping others to embrace challenges, break limits, and create a life designed by purpose, freedom, and extraordinary achievement. And Martinez joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. So, Justin, if you're ready, my friend, I will take a moment to welcome you to the program. And I'm excited to learn about your life in the military, business, and fitness, and everything in between, my friend. It's great to see you, and happy Tuesday to you.
Hey, you as well. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Now, Justin, I know that you're a former Army Ranger, my friend, and your experience in the military really sort of impacted or influenced the work that you're doing today. So first and foremost, thank you for your service, my friend. And I want to know how your experience in the military really transformed you into the leader you are today. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, the military, it's an interesting experience. You go from a kid, whether you're a troubled kid, a good kid, whatever you are, and you go through basic training and you think one thing, and then you get there and, the drill sergeants have a whole nother thing ready for you. So you learn really quick that, you got to work as a team and you got to do things other people's way, whether it's the right way, the wrong way, whatever it is, you got to do it other people's way and you got to figure it out. And so, the military is really cool. I mean, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you camaraderie, it teaches you how to work together. It teaches you a lot of great things, but it also teaches you a lot of things that you learn to hate. Like the military taught me that I didn't like being told what to do all the time. I didn't like being controlled. I was really good at being a soldier. I was really good at the military. And people always ask me, why did I not stay in? And I think one of the issues I had was that I have an entrepreneurial mindset and this entrepreneurial drive, and that's just not conducive to being in the military. Just being controlled every moment of your day. But it's great structure. It teaches you a lot of great things that you're able to carry when you leave. You're able to, if you can keep those disciplines and maintain those disciplines, they really set you up for success in the civilian world and kind of put you above your peers in a lot of senses. And so, it was definitely a good transition.
Absolutely. And Justin, based on your life and professional experience, I'm curious to ask you, how do you view the concept of the wisdom of leadership? And what I mean by that is, when we talk about leadership, it can come in all different shapes and sizes. But what do you really think of when I tell you about having wisdom as a leader? What comes to mind for you, my friend?
Ooh, that is a great question. Put me on the spot having to think on that one. But yeah, no, I think wisdom as a leader obviously comes from having led in different scenarios, different environments, and multiple times. You know, my I like that you asked that because it really puts me. I got to go to Army Ranger school when I was only 20 years old. So I was very, very young. Most people don't get to go that early on. I was only a private. I was a PFC, and I was very young. And I went to Ranger school, and it's one of the most elite leadership schools in the world. So you graduate, and you got this like high head that you're the best bee's knees and that you're a leader and all this stuff. But just because you go to a school and you pass or you're put into a position does not mean you are a leader. What makes you a leader is not the fact that you can tell people what to do, but that people want to do what you tell them what to do. That is the biggest difference. And so you see it all the time in people that they lead by authority, they lead by position, they lead by power. And it's like, hey, I am this person, therefore you must do that. And that'll get the job done, but it will never build long-term teams versus if you go out and you lead by example, you lead from the front, you show the people that you are trying to lead that you are the person that you want them to be and emulate that person and show them by example, they will be way more inclined to want to follow you. Having someone who wants to follow you is way more deeper and desirable than someone who has to follow you. So I would say, as far as wisdom and leadership that I've learned over the years, is that working with your team and creating an environment where they want to follow you, they want to look up to you, they want to be led by you.
Yeah, and to that point, Justin, I'm curious because I know that you've been a part of teams for the large majority of your life, buddy. So, what do you think goes into creating an effective and really cohesive team? What are your thoughts there?
Like the question is like, how do you create a cohesive team?
Yeah, from your perspective, my friend.
Yeah, again, one is leading by example, always showing that your subordinates or the people that you're working with that you're willing to get in the trenches and that there's two types of leaders. There's the do as I say and there's the do as I do kind of leaders.
Mhm.
Nobody likes the do as I say, not as I do kind of leaders. They tell you to do all these things, but they're not willing to do it themselves. So what builds a good cohesive team is when your team knows that you're willing to do whatever it is that you're telling them to do, and you're willing to put in the work and the sacrifice. You're willing to stay up late, and not just delegate everything off onto them, but being able to like, hey, I'm going to do this as well. And so to build a team, and then you got to have camaraderie. You got to understand what they're doing. You got to know their vision. You got to know their goals. You got to know their values. You got to know a lot of different things about everybody on your team, and try to get to know them as people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, this is why I asked you about real estate and your background in fitness. I'm also curious to ask your perspective on the concept of embracing, resilience as a soft skill and a superpower when it comes to business and in life, my friend. And I'll quickly use myself as an example. So, Justin, when I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. And I actually found out at the age of 9, buddy, that I wouldn't be able to walk for the duration of my life without the assistance of a walker and a wheelchair. And when I graduated college, because of my disability, I spent 6.5 years without employment because when I went on job interviews, people thought because of my disability that I would be a liability. So I have turned my story into getting paid now as a professional speaker and really helping organizations understand the power of resilience and inclusion, my friend. So based on your time in the service and your own personal sort of life experience, I'm curious, how do you view the concept of both perseverance and having sort of a resilient spirit? What are your thoughts there?
Great question. And kudos to you and everything that you have done and accomplished. That's really awesome. I'm sure there's people in your position that have not pushed the boundaries and pushed the limits and have achieved what you have achieved. And so that right there shows your resilience and your ability to drive on and overcome. And so, yeah, I would say in the military, especially in the Ranger School, we had a saying in Ranger School, overcome and adapt, drive on to the Ranger objective and complete the mission, though you be the lone survivor. Basically saying, hey, no matter what, life is going to throw you obstacles, it's going to throw you curveballs. Yours came right out of the gate. For other people's, it comes later on in life. They're on top, and then bam, they get hit, they get struck. It's not the blows that life gives you, but it's how you bounce back from it and the attitude that you carry. And so my resiliency comes from I live in this world of like, okay, things happen that suck and we can't control it. But the problem is that a lot of people get stuck on dwelling on this event that happened, but time is linear. You cannot go back in time. We can't go forward. As far as we know, it's one dimensional. We can't go forward or backwards in time. So we can't change the things that have happened. The only thing that we can change and control is the attitude in which we carry forward from that environment. So every time I find myself kind of dwelling or something happens and I want to like let it bring me down, I just stop. I say, hey, Justin, can you change this from happening? Can you stop this? No. Did this happen? Yes. What are you going to do about it? And what are you going to do tomorrow, right now, tomorrow, the next day, moving forward? And so to me, that's what like mental capacity and resilience is. It's just taking those blows, accepting that it happened, and driving forward and completing the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I know that you have a background, as I mentioned before, in real estate and fitness, sort of financial mastery, my friend, and you've taken all of those successes and built multiple ventures from scaling businesses and scaling your own sort of philosophy in business, my friend. So I'm curious to ask you about how you created sort of your own definition of business prosperity and how those ventures has helped to define sort of your sustainable business success. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, There's different levels of success and business and what people strive to achieve, you know. And I think we all think we want something until we start to achieve it, and then it slowly starts to change and adapt and everything like that. But to me, to have success in business specifically is really to just create my own route through this world. Like I got out of the military at 23. I went to college, and since the military, even I mean, technically the military, I did work for somebody. I worked for the government, but since getting out of the army, I've never worked for anybody. You know, I've created my own businesses. I've created my own route. So to me, success in business is to be able to create your own route and be successful on that route and live a life full of purpose and meaning. You know, this is a beautiful, beautiful world that we live in. And so many people never get to experience it. So as long as I'm able to create a life for myself where I can go experience, travel, have fun, live life, and do all these great things, then that's success. I don't need tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. I need to make sure that my bills are paid for, that I get to travel, I get to have fun, the people that I love most are taken care of, and you know, can go through life. And for me, real estate has been one of the biggest catalysts for that because I understand real estate. It makes sense to me. So does money. Money and real estate kind of go hand in hand. It's all investing. It's all manipulation and moving things around. And once you understand how that works, it's pretty. I hate to say it like this because people think it sounds facetious or whatnot, but it's pretty easy to make money. We kind of live in a world. We live, especially in the United States and America. We live in such one of the greatest countries. And I say that because I've been all over the world. I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Cambodia. I've been to Thailand. You know, I've been to South America, Central America. I've been all over the place. And like we live in an amazing place with amazing opportunities that we are really only limited by our own selves. You know, you've learned that firsthand, overcoming everything that you've overcome, that you were only limited by how much you allowed yourself to be limited. And so being able to go out and attack that, that's what success in business and what real estate has done for me. And the fitness comes into play because I believe if you want to be a high performing Ferrari or Formula One race car, well, you got to put in the right fuel, you got to put in the right gas, you got to be maintenance oiled, and you got to, you know, we're a high functioning machine. So to operate on those high levels, you got to fuel your body in order to operate at those levels.
Yeah, and based on your last answer, Justin, I'm curious to ask you about your definition of business discipline and what it means to you to have a discipline in business, which ultimately will hopefully lead to success. So, what does it mean to you to have business discipline, my friend?
So business discipline. Okay. I mean, well, it's just like any foundation, you got to have self-discipline to have business discipline because if you're not, I'm a huge proponent of how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you can't do the little things, then you'll never be able to do the big things. So if you can't be disciplined in your own life, you'll never be fully disciplined in the business world. So first off, you need to have self-discipline. You need to have like daily habits, routines. You need to take care of your life and you take care of your life so that way you can take care of your business. So to have business discipline is to have the discipline to take care of yourself and then be able to take care of the people that are around you and surrounding you and go out and make an impact in, you know, whatever it is that you're doing and then live by a code of ethics. So really having self-discipline and a solid code of ethics. Okay. You should never make money off of the backs of people by doing dirty business, or if whatever you're doing is a detriment to somebody else, then that's not how you should be making money. You know, so to have proper business discipline, I would say first, you have to be rooted in self-discipline and you have to be rooted in positive self-ethics.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Justin, one of the creeds that I live my personal life by is that I believe that excuses are sort of artificial deterrents to progress, my friend. And having internal motivation is very important to me because, it's my belief that in life, if you don't have your own standard of personal expectations, it's hard to raise the level to anybody else, their artificial expectations for your own success. So I'm curious to get your view on the concept of internal motivation and eliminating excuses. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's my kind of question. Man. You're talking to my jam. So I got my book right here, and I've got like three chapters, kind of three almost four chapters that talk about like motivation, the levels of motivation, different types of motivation, and then your internal versus external motivation. And so, yeah, no, you need that internal. Well, here's my philosophy on motivation too. So not to crap on anyone or anything like that, but motivation is kind of fleeting. So motivation, and again, I have a whole chapter on this called the motivational roller coaster, but it's up and down. You know, sometimes we wake up and we're like, we're pumped, we're ready, we want to go, we've got this. And then there's days we wake up and it's just like, dude, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to be alive. I just want to curl in the ball in my blanket and just cuddle up and do nothing. We all have those days, no matter how successful you are. The question is are you going to be, you need to be determined. I think determined is a level above motivation. When you become determined to complete a task, you're not deterred by the little excuses. Yes, and excuses are exactly what they are. They're excuses. They're any reason to stop doing something. So I live in a world of like, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If you ask anybody I know, anybody that knows me, I'm one of the most disciplined, consistent people that they know. They know like if Justin says he's going to be there at this time or he's going to do this, he's going to freaking do it because you can't let these excuses get a hold of you because motivation comes and goes. So you can't really be motivated. I don't really believe in motivation. I believe in discipline. I believe when you say you're going to do something, you do it. All right, whether that motivation is there or not. If you wait for motivation, it's going to come and go. But to have it internally is another excuse because you've got internal motivation and you've got external motivation. The external motivation is like that hype song that hypes you up, that pre-workout that makes you want to work out, that coffee in the morning. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink stimulants. I don't do any of that stuff because I wake up naturally driven, naturally ready to go with that internal motivation of, you know what, I want to conquer my day today, so I'm going to freaking get it done. So to fully answer your question, my thoughts on internal motivation is you have to have internal motivation and not rely on an external motivating factor. And by doing so, you establish yourself and root yourself in discipline. And that way you have that internal motivation no matter what's happening in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, one of the reasons I was excited to talk to you this afternoon, buddy, is because I know that you also have a sports background, and as an old sports reporter, I'm always excited to talk to athletes, and I know that you've completed and competed in Ironman events and ultra marathons, and you've completed the 75 hard program multiple times, my friend. So I'm wondering, what have those experiences taught you about the importance of pushing past the limits of endurance or capabilities, my friend? So what have those experiences taught you about the endurance, both from a physical, mental, and psychological perspective? What are your thoughts there?
Man, you must have read my book because again, you keep quoting. I got a whole chapter on pushing past your perceived limits, using endurance events to kind of push past your perceived limits. And so, we're always limited by our own beliefs. Your ceiling. Most people's ceiling is here, right? And they never even approach that ceiling. They usually stop somewhere around here. I'm all about this is where you think your ceiling is. How do you burst through that? Okay, because once you cross the ceiling, that ceiling now becomes your floor, and you turn that, now you raise the bar to a higher ceiling, and so you're just kind of always raising that bar. And so I do that through endurance events. I had a point in my life where I was really in shape. I was in the military, I was an Army Ranger, did all that, super in shape. I maintained good shape for years and years. And then, 2020 happened, quarantine, COVID. I was renovating cabins in the Smoky Mountains, living by myself, no gyms. I was not really exercising. I was eating, drinking, and, I was living a good life, but my health kind of went to the wayside for a couple of years. And it was in 2023, my buddy hit me up and he's like, hey man, dude, you want to do the 75 hard program with me? I didn't even know what it was, but I was like, dude, I need a change. Let's do it. And we committed to doing it. And then that's where like I re-sparked a fire that was kindling. And I went from like those first couple weeks, man, I was struggling to run 2-3 miles at like a 9-minute pace. Like it sucked. I spent the next, 75 days, 2.5, 3 months training, got faster and faster. We did a half marathon ran that pretty fast. Then it was like, all right, let's do a marathon. Then we ran that pretty fast. Now I'm running like, 6 minute miles. Then it was like, let's do a triathlon. And every time we didn't think we could go any further. And it was like, well, let's do a triathlon. Okay, we crushed that. Let's do a half an Ironman. Crush that. A full Ironman. Crushed that. I thought the Ironman was going to be the end of me. And it wasn't even as difficult as I thought. So then I just did a couple months ago, I just did a 100-mile ultra marathon. I got third place, crushed that. And that wasn't even that difficult. And so now it's just you're constantly raising that bar, and you do that by giving yourself something to work for. So I'm a huge fan when I tell my fitness clients that tell me they want to, start running or lose weight or something like that. Let's give you an end goal here, not to just to lose weight, but let's give you a like how can you like physically, other than losing weight, how can we track your progress? Let's do that through races. So I'll sign my clients up depending on what level they're at. We'll sign them up for a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon or a marathon. And it gives them something to work for, because once you push through and you accomplish that, you realize it sucked. And while you're doing it, it kind of sucks. But once you finish, you're like, you know what? Actually wasn't that bad. I think there's more in me. And that's when you go and you just keep pushing the limits. So that's where I see perceived limits, and I use endurance events to do that. And so now I'm looking at what's my next race. Now I want to do 150-mile races. I want to do high rocks. I want to do cross country races. Like, you just keep raising your bar. And so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, I know that a part of your business model when you're working with your fitness clients is helping them to make choices that today that their future self will thank them for, my friend. So let's dive into that. And what do you think people need to know in order to embark on a successful fitness journey of good choices, my friend? What are your thoughts then?
Well, let me just read you these like two or three sentences really quick. So I am a compounder through and through. To me, being a compounder is the foundation of my whole life, my whole philosophy, everything that I'm rooted in. And I'll just read you these lines right here. It says, "What does it mean to be a compounder? A compounder is someone who consciously makes choices today that will set them up for success tomorrow. This could be as simple as meal prepping and laying out your clothes the night before work, ensuring you maximize your time in the mornings and don't forget anything under the pressure of a time constraint, or it could be as significant as working out every day and eating right, ensuring that you live a full life with your family instead of watching from the sidelines." It's basically to be a compounder. Every decision you make will determine the life that you live tomorrow, right? So you've heard of compound interest. You put $1 in the bank and it compounds. So it doubles and then adds a little bit, adds a little bit, adds a little bit. And so all the choices that you make now, when you turn, like, I'm 32 years old right now. So when I turn 40 years old, I'm going to look back at my 30-year-old self, and I'm going to have one or two reflections in my mind. I'm either going to say, hey, 32-year-old Justin, you were a knucklehead. You messed up. You didn't make the right decisions. You didn't eat right. You didn't exercise. You made bad decisions. You hung out with friends. You just didn't set yourself up. And now I'm 40 and I'm struggling. I don't have the wife and family that I want. I don't get to live where I want. I don't get to take the vacations I want. I don't get to do the things that I want because I didn't make those decisions. On the flip side, my 40-year-old self can be like, hey, Justin, dude, you hustled, you grinded, you worked out, you exercised, you ran, you made the right decisions, you made good investments, you took care of yourself, you did this, you did that. Now I'm 40, I'm living life. I got a family, I got a house, I got a car, I got vacations, my family's taken care of. Life is good. And that all happens because of the decisions that you make consistently over time. So to me, the compounder lifestyle is basically, the whole concept is the choices you make today will determine the life that you live tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, if I told you right now, if I gave you the capability to sort of capture one portion of your life and you could put it in a time capsule and revisit this a portion of your life 50 years later and use it as a point of self-reflection and motivation, buddy. I'm curious, what portion of your life would you want to sort of take a mental picture of and put it in a time capsule to revisit, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
That's a great question. I don't normally prepare for podcasts. I saw the questions you sent me over. I glance at them. I like to just have a natural free flow conversation, so I don't like to prepare answers. But when I saw that one, man, that one made me think for a moment, and I had to really assess. And so, honestly, I have to go with the summer of 2023. I got into Airbnb. I had a bunch of Airbnbs. I decided, I was over the Airbnb thing. And I made good money. I had, good money saved up, and I was like, I needed to know the next move of my life. Like, where was my life going? What was my purpose? So I sold all my Airbnbs, and this was pretty cool. I cashed in. I had over $1 million in the bank, and I was chilling. I bought a truck and travel trailer, and I spent like 4 or 5 months, and I did a road trip around the United States. Drove over 20,000 miles. I went around the whole country, backpack national parks everywhere, just me and my dog. It was the coolest summer ever. And I'll never forget this one day. I was floating on my kayak on the lake. It was early morning. I was watching the sunrise. Went out on the kayak early that morning, and it was just so beautiful. The weather it was like a I don't even know how to say that word, moment like in a movie. And I just remember like sitting there, and I had this most overwhelming feeling come over me. Like, I don't know if it was like a coming to Jesus moment, or like God was speaking to me, but like, if you've ever, can't even describe it in words, the feelings that I felt at this moment, but it was like this, like, I would love to go back to this moment just to feel this feeling again of like, it was complete clarity. It was like, I've never experienced so much clarity in my life. And it was like I saw in that moment what I needed to do and where my life was going to go from there. And all I knew in that moment was that I was enjoying God's country, this beautiful land, this beautiful world, and that more people need to experience this and go through this in their own lives. And so it became my mission to try to help people it, get to the point where they can experience this world. I used to knock doors. I knocked doors all through college, and I've knocked on thousands of doors all across the country. And selling direct TV and stuff like that. And I've talked to thousands of people, so many people that have never left their hometown or don't even understand what the beauty of this world is. And they are happy, but they have these desires to want to go out and experience the world. And I've just met so many people in my life that are not, they're too stressed out. Life is just beating them down. They're too stressed, and life is a beautiful thing. Life is a beautiful thing. And so kind of a long answer, but in that moment, I realized what my life goal was, and it was to help as many people as I can experience and maximize their lives. And I believe you do that through building your fitness foundation, building your discipline, because if you can dial that in, then you could dial in your work, you could dial in your goals, you could dial in a life to get you to where you want. So that summer, that moment, that kayak, I would put that in a time capsule and revisit that in 50 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And buddy, let's talk about your book now, buddy. You've referenced it a couple of times, so let's give you the space to talk about a compounder's guide to developing a ranger's mindset, buddy. I know it offers readers a chance to develop a blueprint for success through discipline and resilience, my friend. So tell me about the book and anything else you want to share about it and why you wrote it, my friend.
Okay, yeah, awesome. No, I appreciate it. Again, yeah. So it's the Compounder's Guide to Developing the Ranger Mindset. So the Compounder's Guide is kind of my philosophy for like my blog. And, like I said, the compounder way of life, like I want people to become compounders, because to be a compounder means you're someone who's actively making choices today that will benefit them tomorrow. So the Compounder's Guide is the concept, like my blog and everything. So I wanted to come up with a series of like the Compounder's Guide. And so this one is to the Ranger mindset. Eventually, the next book will be the Compounder's Guide to Financial Freedom. Then there'll be a Compounder's Guide to, living your best life, health, wealth, and all that. And so, yes, so the Ranger mindset is a play on, obviously I was in, went through Ranger school and everything like that. And so again, I've got a pretty big following on Instagram and everything. People are always reaching out to me. And one thing that I constantly get told is like, Justin, how are you so disciplined? How are you so consistent? Like, I'm up at 5:45 every morning, no matter what. I'm rucking. I'm working out twice a day. I'm traveling. Sometimes I'll sacrifice sleep. I want sleep to make sure I get my workouts in. Like, just this unwavering. There is no There is no not accomplishing a task that I set my mind to. And so a lot of that is by having this ranger mindset. And so I believe a lot of people want to live their best lives. They want to be financially free. They want to get into real estate. They want to do all these things. But until you can, like I was talking about earlier in business, until you have self-discipline, until you can control what's going on in here, you're going to struggle to control what's going on out there. And so that's where I kind of wrote this book. It's based off my program that I have my clients go through, and I put it into a book. And so it's a lot of chapters. It's 27 chapters. It's 300 pages, but they're short, punchy chapters. Sometimes you read a book and they go through all this fluff to get to the point. It's like every chapter is like, 4, 5, 6 pages, straight to the point, just giving you what you need to know. It's solid advice. And I use points from my life and Ranger School and deployment and business and all kinds of different things. And then after each chapter, there's a very in-depth assignment. I make it very clear in the beginning of this book, this is like a course. You read the chapter, you do the recap, and you do the assignment. And every assignment kind of builds on top of each other all throughout the book until the end. You do the final assignment. When you do the final assignment, you essentially have a roadmap where you have everything you need. You have a blueprint to living your best life. If you follow if you follow these assignments, what you told yourself you're going to do in these assignments, and you put that on your wall and you do that, you will live your absolute best life, guaranteed. But the problem is committing to it. So that's where each chapter breaks it down. What is motivation? What is discipline? Why you need discipline over motivation? What is determination? Closing open cycles, physical endurance. There's so many chapters on so many great things, how to live your best self. Your network is your network. A lot of people focus on your network is your network. So you need to associate yourself with people that, surround yourself with people that bring you up. But what they never focuses on is you also need to be the person that other people want in their network that brings them up. So how do you become your best self and everything like that? And so this book is a really solid blueprint of how I live my life. I took how I live my life and put it into a book for people. And I just launched it about a month ago, and I've had a couple people that have finished it already, and they're messaging me consistently like, dude, I'm taking these philosophies and I'm applying them to my life. And it's very rewarding to see people reading it and actually putting it into action and seeing them start to live better, more prosperous lives.
Yeah, and you talk about living a prosperous life, Justin, and especially in America, it's such a polarized society today. So, if I gave you the blueprint or the power to change one thing about societal discourse in America and around the world on how we speak to each other and how we value each other's opinion, what aspect of societal life would you want to change so that everyone can realize sort of societal prosperity no matter their viewpoints? My friend, so I guess what I'm asking is, how do you think we can get back to a scenario or situation where we compromise, where we can have a disagreement without having the other person be vilified, my friend? So how can we get back to a better societal discourse? What are your thoughts there?
Great question. And there's just one thing that comes to mind as soon as you start saying that is more positive human interaction. In a world where everyone's just so glued to their phones, glued to their technology, it's almost like a social discourse, like to go out and like try to talk to people. Like I love striking up conversations with random strangers, talking, just positive human interaction. One of my favorite things. It's the most little subtle thing ever, but it's one of my favorite parts of my days when it happens. Is if you ever pull up to like a stop sign. Yeah, usually technically the person to the right has the right of way, but sometimes you guys pull up to an intersection or driveways, or you just have this moment where you both stop, and in your brain you're like, do I go? In their brain they're like, do I go? And you kind of look at each other through the windshields and you just give them a little head nod saying, you know what, you go ahead and go. And then they pull out, and as they're pulling out, they look back at you and they just wave with a little smile, basically saying, hey, thank you. And then they go on and they take off. It's so little, it's so subtle, but that is just such a genuinely positive human interaction. And I absolutely love those moments right there. And I think we just need more of that in society. I think we just need more throughout our day instead of just so tunnel vision in our world where it's like, don't look at me, don't talk to me. I'm socially awkward, I'm weird. Like, no, get out of here, dude. We're all humans, we're all people, we all have troubles, we all have things we're going through, we're all awkward. Just talk to each other. Just open up your mouth and strike up a conversation. We just need more positive human interaction, more conversation, more connection. We're very disconnected as a society right now, and so that's one thing I would love to see happen is just more positive interactions amongst our fellow humans.
Yeah, and Justin, I've got three quick ones left for you, my friend. And the first of those trio of questions, my friend, is I'm wondering your perspective on how elite mindset and the concept of having discipline to achieve elite status in life are interconnected. So how do you think elite mindset and discipline are interconnected?
I mean, they're kind of hand in hand. I mean, you can't have an elite mindset and be at the top without you can't be the lion in the jungle if you're the hippo in the water, like it just you got to be disciplined. You got to be when you say you're going to do something, you got to do it. And that's not just because okay, so we all have the friend, we all know somebody, we may love them or something, it might be a cousin and uncle, they say they're going to do something and you've just learned history has taught you like sorry, buddy, I love you, but I just know you're not going to follow through on this because you just don't do it, or you say you're going to be there on time, you're always late. You say you're going to go to the gym with me, you never show up. You always got this, you're the excuse person. So the same thing happens in our own minds. So in our own worlds, when we constantly tell ourselves, when we go to bed and we set our alarm for 6 a.m. and say, we're going to get up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym, but you wake, that alarm goes off and you're tired and you're like, you know what? No, I'm going to hit snooze and go back to bed. You just failed yourself and you just became that uncle. You just became that person. If you do that enough times, you learn to not even rely on yourself. You're not even convinced in your own self to achieve what you say you're going to achieve. And you cannot be the elite. You cannot get to that high level you want if you do not even trust or have confidence in yourself to get something done. So that's where discipline and that elite mindset come together and mesh where you got to be disciplined. You got to reach those levels. You got to believe in yourself that you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, Justin, the last sort of tactical or insightful question I had for you this afternoon, buddy, was the idea of creating a generational wealth, both in real estate and in life. Now, the real estate portion of this is pretty self-explanatory, but if I also ask you to sort of circle that back to life, if somebody's watching or listening to this today and they're like, I'm really inspired by this conversation and I want to take consistent action to sort of improve my current life situation, what piece of advice would you give to them? And my friend, what's your definition of sort of generational wealth from both a life and real estate perspective? What are your thoughts there?
Okay, so there's a few, so I'll kind of answer each question. So to me, my concept of generational wealth in life is ensuring that I maximize life, live life, get to travel to the fullest. And then for my family, the same thing, that I'm able to, because I'm single, I'm out there, I'm looking for my wife and everything like that. And so I want to be able to provide them the safety and security that they don't have to worry about. My kids have what they want. And so generational wealth is being able to raise your kids in a world where they don't have to necessarily want for anything. Now, I'm not saying give them everything because I'm a huge fan of, hey, you're going to work for it. And then as far as real estate concerns, that, like you said, it's kind of self-explanatory, being able to create passive income. You can do that through real estate. So over the years, you want to start when you're younger because it takes people think, you could just buy real estate. We could have a whole podcast on real estate. I could write a whole book on real estate. People think just because they inherited $50,000 from a grandparent that passed away. They could just go buy a piece of property. It just doesn't work that way. And so there's a lot of variables that come into play. So you got to start today so that your future self will thank you for, by the time you're 60, if you want 50 properties, you got to start in your 20s and 30s. It's just how that works. And so that's kind of how the generational wealth looks like for me on that end. And then as far as your other question, what are some things that people can start doing today? Look, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And one of the biggest problems that people have is they like watch some hype video, they watch some David Goggins or Cam Hanes or all these crazy things, and they're like, you know what? I am struggling. I'm gonna go crazy and just go for it. And they get overwhelmed. They try this crazy diet and they've never done it before, and it's just like a huge life change, and it freaks them out, and they end up failing. They always end up failing, or they start going to the gym. They don't know what they're doing. So they look up some random workout program. They go hit it super hard the first day or two. Then they're super sore. They can barely get out of bed, and then they just quit going. So life, it's all about baby steps in getting into it, and then once it's like, I could consider myself like an old Buick. When I go for a run, I can't just take off sprinting. I gotta warm up. I gotta get the legs loose. I gotta get them moving, get the body, grooving before I'm able to really open up those cylinders and take off. And so some things that you can start doing right now is, one, you got to start instilling discipline. Right now, most of the time people are lacking discipline. They don't always do the things that they say they're going to do. So a couple quick things is, when you wake up in the morning, one, always wake up if you set that alarm, whatever you set that alarm for, you wake up when that alarm goes off. Does not matter how tired or how crappy you feel. You told yourself you're going to wake up when that alarm goes off. If you snooze that alarm or don't get up, you just failed the first task of the day. So you just woke up, and automatically, bam, your first existence into that day is a failure. Okay. So bam, wake up when you say you're going to wake up. Second thing, get out of that bed, make your bed. I don't care if you're married and your spouse is still in bed, that's fine. Make your side. Tuck your pillow in, fluff your pillow up, make it look good, make it show that you gave it an appearance, gave it an attempt to make your side of the bed. Okay. Now, bam, you woke up when you said you're going to wake up. That's first task complete. You got out of bed, you immediately made your bed. Bam, you already have 2 wins on the day. You have 2 wins, and you've only been awake for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. And that sets you on the pace to continue winning throughout the day. And then the last thing I would say is, definitely try to hit the gym and exercise. But before you even try to do that, don't even try to go on a crazy diet. Just try to start cutting things out of your diet one at a time. Cut out the chips, cut out the soda, cut out the candy. Every week, cut something out that you like to eat that you know is bad for you. You know it's bad for you. You know it's bad for you. Just cut it out. So make your bed, wake up when you say you're going to wake up, and then every week, just start cutting something out of your diet. Start doing that. Start walking. You should be shooting for 8 to 10,000 steps a day. You're not going to get sore from walking 8 to 10. Well, maybe a little bit if you don't walk at all. Walk 8 to 10,000 steps. Don't even touch the gym. Just start walking. Cut some foods out of your diet, wake up when you say you're going to wake up. And then if you want to keep chatting more about this, you feel free to reach out to me and we can build you a program from there. But if you just do those things, you will start getting your life under control.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great advice, my friend. And my final question for you, my friend, is about life and legacy. So if I told you tomorrow, Justin, that I was going to throw you a lifetime achievement party, and I wanted your closest friends and family members to give you a toast at your lifetime achievement party, my friend, what would you want them to say? And how would you want your life and legacy to be defined, my friend?
Wow, that's a deep question to end it on right there. It gets the mind gearing. That's a great question. Um, Honestly, I would just want people to be like, Justin, that guy, man. He lived life. I just want to be known as the guy who lives life. I feel like most of my friends and family look at me that way. I'm always up for an adventure, out getting after it. Working on gonna be getting my skydiving license soon. So I just would want them to all look at each other. I wouldn't want them to be sad. I'd want them to just crack a beer and say, "Damn, what a life that guy lived, man. We can only aspire to live a life like that." And so I guess that would be, maybe that sounds facetious or whatnot, but I just want to live. Life is a playground, man. It literally, when you figure out the cheat code to life is a playground. And every day, if you love what you do, you wake up happy, you wake up and you get to play on that playground. You're like a kid in 3rd grade on recess out on the playground having fun, and that's how life should be. And so I want to be remembered for that.
Absolutely. And finally, buddy, if people want to get connected with you, Justin, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so the best thing is on Instagram, the compounder coach. It's just the compounder coach. Or you can go to my website, compoundercoach.com. Again, that's compoundercoach.com. If you do / Ranger Mindset, that'll take you to my book author page, all my programs and stuff. So either Instagram, the compounder coach, or my website, compoundercoach.com / Ranger Mindset.
Well, Justin, I have to tell you, this was a conversation that I was looking forward to for a while, my friend, and you didn't disappoint. So I want to thank you for the good work that you're doing to elevate people's lives, their perspective, their perspectives on their own abilities, and for joining me to engage in conversation. It's most appreciated, my friend.
It was an honor, absolute pleasure to chat with you, Kevin. And again, congrats to everything that you're doing. I saw your Facebook post that you just submitted a letter to go talk to go try to speak at one of the football teams, I believe it was, correct?
Yeah, the Detroit Lions, buddy. I submitted a speaking proposal to speak
And
to the Lions during training camp. Absolutely.
I got my fingers crossed for you. I hope you nailed that. I look forward to seeing that one day.
Yes, I'll keep you posted because I know we're connected on Facebook, my friend. So I look forward to staying connected, my friend. But I want to thank you for being here. It's most appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. You have a great day.